All right, this is Boxing with the Truth, and you're here today with the Truth on January 11th, 2015, and we're interviewing pro boxer Bronco McKart. How you doing today, Bronco?
I'm doing great. Just sitting home watching some playoff football.
Would that be the Packers and the Cowboys?
Yes, sir.
All right, go Green Bay.
Yep, I'm all for that. I want Green Bay to win this game.
Are you actually a Detroit Lion fan, though?
Yes, I am.
Kind of figured that seeing you're out of Michigan.
Yep, yeah, I'm a Lions fan, that's for sure.
All right, let's talk about your record. Actually, is 56 wins, 11 losses, and 1 draw. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, now you just recently announced your retirement about 6 months ago, right?
Yes.
Okay, just to clarify, is there any chance of you coming back for another fight, or is that it?
No, that's it. I went as far as I could go. I just, I get tired at the end. I just got physically and mentally tired. I was done. I don't think I could, I don't want to fight just to fight. You know, I wanted to fight to try to win another world championship. And if I can't accomplish that, I don't want to just fight just to fight. I mean, I could go on club shows, win fights all day. But what would that do for me? You know, it wouldn't do anything for me. So I just, no. I went as far as I could go. I had a good run at it, and that's why I stayed so long. So that way, when I announced my retirement, that was it. Boom, one time, and I'm done.
Okay.
And I know I'm done.
Now, you mostly fought at light middleweight, right? Most of your career?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and you are a southpaw. And like I said, you're actually out of Monroe, Michigan, which for a lot of big fighters, you don't hear them coming out of Michigan, which I'm going to touch on in a minute. Because the Midwest gets a bad rap as a lot of sparring partners or guys that just can't make it over that next level. So tell me how you, coming out of the Midwest, made it to that next level to be a showcase name where people knew who you were even though you were out of the Midwest.
Well, I mean, I somewhat agree with that statement, and to answer that question, I somewhat disagree with it also, for the fact that, you know, at one time Detroit, Michigan was the mecca of boxing. I mean, you had everybody that was anybody that came out of Detroit. And I trained, my amateur career, I trained out of Monroe, but then when I turned professional, I trained out of, Redford, Michigan, and Detroit, Michigan. I spent 7 years at the Chronic Boxing Gym under some great trainers. And, you know, I don't think it really matters where you come from. I think it matters who you are as a person, as an athlete, you know, as a fighter. I had great trainers. I had some of the best minds in boxing over my years in the game. I had great fighters around me. You know, I had good camps. I was in a lot of training camps with James Toney, so I got to spar a lot of high-notch professional fighters, and that's how you better yourself. In the beginning of your career, you know, you're learning your craft, and you need to work with and spar good guys that are better than you. Not guys that are going to go in there and abuse you, but guys that are going to go in there and teach you. And I was very fortunate to have that around me in the beginning of my career.
Okay, speaking of your career, you turned pro in '92, and actually throughout your career you won. This is kind of a long list. You got the WBC light middleweight. You got the WBO light middleweight championship. You got the IBA light middleweight championship. The NABF light middleweight championship. The NABF middleweight championship. The WBF Intercontinental Middleweight Championship, and the UBO World Middleweight Championship, and you actually won the Michigan State title, right?
Yes, yep, that's correct.
Wow, that's a resume there.
Yes, thank you.
You actually have a pretty good resume of fighters on your list as well, and I'm going to get to them in a minute. Actually, you fought Santos Cardona actually for your first title shot?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me, leading up to your first title shot, I mean, obviously every boxer's a little nervous and stuff, but what did you do different than you did your entire career for that fight, for a training camp or anything else for your first shot?
Honestly, I really didn't do anything different. When I was coming up as a professional fighter, I turned pro at the age of 21, and I had a focus. I had a goal, and it was to be a world champion. And, I ate, slept. Everything I did was boxing. I never went out to the bars, never went out to the clubs. I didn't do drink. The age of 21 is prime drinking age. That's when everybody, they're legal now. They want to drink. From 21 to 25, I never touched a drop of alcohol, period. I didn't do it. I just, when that fight came up, when I knew I was getting a world title shot, I think the only thing that changed was just mentally, was, I'm going to win this. This is my destiny. This is what I've trained myself to do. This is my opportunity, and I'm going to win it, and nothing's going to stop me. And I think that was the only difference was just the mindset changed.
Okay, and I'm just going to list a few names that are on your resume for people that might not be aware. There's obviously Winky Wright. If you people don't know who Bronco McKart is, he went 3 times with Winky Wright. That's just, you're known for that more than anything, but you had a great career as well. Then you got Glenwood Brown, Kenny Ellis, Vernal Phillips, Travis Sims, Kelly Pavlik, Enrique Ornelas, Raul Marquez, Anthony Mundine, Tony Harris, Raul Marquez. You got a resume. I could go down all day, but those are names that people will recognize with boxing, that were good boxers themselves. And I've read many times, and I agree because I've watched most of your career, that you didn't duck anybody. You were willing to fight anybody in your division, a little higher, a little lower, and that's a fighter to me. That's not a guy trying to make a record. That's not a guy trying to pad a record. That's a fighter.
Yes, and that's what made, what, I got that instilled in me from being in camp with James Toney when I was in the gym with him. That's what James Toney did. You look at Israel, he fought everybody too, throughout his whole career. And we had an ongoing joke, and he used to always say, the only thing I turn down is my bed sheets at night. I don't turn down nobody. And I thought, what, I want to be just like that guy. I'm a fighter. That's what I do. I'm not going to pick and choose. They come to me with a fight, and we're going to take it, and we're going to do it. There was a lot more people throughout my career that shied away from fighting me than I did, and I didn't shy away from fighting none of those guys. They made an offer, and I took it. And I pride myself in that. Some people say, I think you could have took a different direction and cherry picked some fights, but that wasn't me. When you're a fighter, you're a fighter. At least when I lay my head down, when my career's over, now that it is over, and I reflect back on it, I can say with pride and dignity and character, I was a fighter, and I fought everybody.
Honestly, another favorite fighter of mine is Mickey Ward, and you kind of resemble him, where the fact that you guys would just go in there and go to war. It didn't matter who it was. You didn't care about the name. It was just another guy on the other side of the ring, and you were there to beat him.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's one. I like him too, man. He's one of my all-time favorites too.
Also, bringing back the fact that you were in camp with James Toney. Okay, the fact that you came out of the Midwest, like I said, sometimes that's pretty hard for fighters, depending who you are or who you know. But you also had a female manager, Jackie Cowling.
Yes.
So did
Jackie
that?
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did that make things sometimes a little harder because of the fact that? Don't get me wrong, because she's well known, and the first female manager, she had James Toney. So it's not like nobody didn't know who she was. But to have a female manager and be coming out of the Midwest, some people would think that was kind of even a harder way to get out of here.
No, Jackie, she at that time, James Toney. When I signed with Jackie Cowling, James Toney was pound for pound #1 fighter in the world. He was the man. And Jackie Cowling had a lot of pop just because she had James Toney. And she started to build herself a little stable, and she had good relationships at that time with Top Rank, Bob Arum, Bruce Trampler, the matchmaker, Ron Katz. She had good relationships with all the top players in the game. And so it actually it made it easy. Jackie wanted something done, and she got it. She was very professional. She had a unique way on how she did things, but she got it done.
And how was your relationship with her in your career?
Me and Jackie are still great friends to this day. We stay in touch through phone and Facebook and stuff like that. But we see each other at different events. But we had a great relationship throughout my career, and continue to have a great one after.
Okay. Well, obviously, let's touch on the Winky Wright. Everybody, like I said, pretty much knows the Winky Wright Bronco McKart fights. So the first one. Obviously, me and you have talked about this before, and I actually just watched it a couple days ago again. And I can see how it could go either way. And I personally thought the first time I watched it that you won. But and obviously you agree with me because you've told me that you feel that you won the first fight as well.
Yeah.
So then we can see why a second fight was made. But what changed from the first fight, where it was so close that it was kind of hard to decide who won, to the second fight where they kind of feel like he just kind of pulled away and kind of ran with the fight?
Yeah, that second fight, he just, up to 3 fights, that was his, I mean, I got DQ'd in the third fight, obviously, but I was still performing much better than I did in the second fight. That second fight, Winky Wright, he just fought a perfect fight. I mean, I really can't. His jab in that fight was just, seemed like it improved like 100% from the first time we fought. And the first time we fought, his jab was great. I mean, that guy, that's what people don't understand about Winky Wright. His jab was just the thing that you couldn't really totally 100% respect that unless you ran the end of it. I mean, he had an incredible jab. It was very snappy, sneaky, and it hurt, man. It stung. His jab hurt like a lot of guys, right hand. I mean, he had a great jab, and he had very good defense, and he could take a great shot. Winky Wright could take a good punch too, and that's what made him so tough throughout his whole career. But he was just, it was good and bad, but it was good for boxing, good for him maybe, but it kind of sucked that me and him were in the same era at the same time, because if I would have been a few years either later or earlier or vice versa, it would have just been a whole different outcome and how, I guess, and how the careers ended up winding up.
Okay, so let's talk about the third fight then. What exactly happened that you got disqualified?
Well, I mean, honestly, there was maybe 1 or 2 low blows that we landed clean in that fight. But I tell you what, I think it was a lack of experience of the referee that we had. I mean, if you watch Winky Wright, he wears a very high waistband in his fights, and he's got that tuck defense where his elbows, his arms are so long that his elbows actually rest on top of his belt. So if you're hitting shots off of Winky Wright, belt line, they're really not low blows. If you watch, and I know you watch a lot of boxing, you'll see it. The refs always come in your locker room before the fight, and they tell you things. But in the middle of the ring, when they're giving instructions, they'll touch some of these guys that have high belt lines, and they'll say, "This I'm going to count as a clean ball, and this is going to be a low blow." They'll let you know that you're wearing a waistband that's almost covering your sternum. How in the world are you not going to hit a guy low if you try to hit a shot that would land maybe on the belly button? So, but it just happened. And matter of fact, I think I got 5 points taken away from me in that fight. And after 3, you're supposed to be DQ. So it was just, and you can't lose 3 points against Winky Wright in a fight. That's over. You know what I mean? That's not a guy you can give 3 points to.
Okay, so now we talked about this before. Did you really know Winky Wright before the first fight? Were you guys friends at all? Did you have any type of relationship, or did you guys become friends after the 3 fights?
No, we became friends after the 3 fights. I never knew Winky, anything. I obviously just knew him from boxing, who he was, but I never spoke to him, nothing until the first fight. And then after 3 fights, we developed a friendship, and like I say, we stay in touch. We get down to Florida. I went down 2 years ago. We played golf. When I was down there last year, we just couldn't make it happen. He had stuff going on. I had stuff going on. But I just recently spoke with him. Told him I'd be back down there again, this summer, and we're gonna try to set up play some golf. So.
That's kind of cool that you guys can go to war 3 times, and now you guys are friends and got respect for each other and golf together.
Yeah. We shoot each other. Like, when it's my birthday, he'll shoot me a text. His birthday, I'll shoot him a text. Father's Day, holidays, different things like that. And like I said, we build a bond through our wars, together. We build a friendship, and it's like, I know it's a weird thing, but like, Arturo Gatti, him and Mickey Ward, they had a great relationship after those wars that they had, and it just, you just end up having such a mutual respect for each other and admiration, and it's a different kind of friendship, but it's a bond that can never be broken.
Speaking of Arturo Gatti, I just did an interview with Ivan Robinson, and he said the same thing, that him and Gatti were actually friends before their fights, and it only grew them, closer, and that Arturo Gatti's death hit him really hard. And so he talked about the same thing you were just talking about, how getting in the ring and warring with somebody, it's a special relationship that nobody can understand unless you've been in the ring with a person.
Yeah, that's very true. And boxing is just like it's a brotherhood. I always say that it's a fraternity. It's anywhere in the United States, you run into another boxer, and you guys start talking, you guys are you're gonna hit it right off like you know each other your whole life.
Okay, I was curious though. The one draw you have is with Raul Marquez. Why did you guys never fight again?
I just don't think that they wanted it, and just our career started going in a different direction too. It was just one of those fights. I felt like they skated away with a gift on a draw, and they weren't gonna let that happen again because at that time Raul was working his way back to another title shot. He got it, got beaten, was done, never fought again. So they weren't going to take a chance of doing that because I wanted the rematch, 100%.
Okay, speaking of brotherhood and most fighters liking each other when they meet each other, I'm gonna bring up this one because I got a feeling that you don't really care for this fighter. Anthony Mundine, how do you feel about him?
He is what he is. He's just one of those different kind of guys. I mean, honestly, leading up to our fight, I mean, as far as what he said pre-fight and post-fight and all that's one thing. But at the press conferences and everything else, he was very respectful. Very, he didn't come across as how I expected. And I went to the press conference before the fight. I'm ready to. I'm figuring it's going to get pretty crazy in there. That's what I was waiting for, and it didn't. So I can't really say a whole lot, much about the guy as far as me personally, how he was with me. He was respectful. He wasn't disrespectful to me at all. But in his career, obviously, the way he is, the way he acts to everybody else, he's a very disrespectful guy. But to me personally, I had no issues with him during the fight, before the fight, after the fight, and all that kind of stuff.
But there was an issue where you didn't really care for some comments that he had to say about 9/11 or America in general, right?
Yeah, that was terrible. That was just, I don't even know how to even describe that. But at the press conference, he did apologize for that. Which whether he meant it or not, what are you gonna say? But how could you like anybody that would say anything like that about such a horrific act that took place in the United States?
Okay, and that brings because I know that you're a huge supporter of the soldiers and stuff, right?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me what Mickey's Minutes is. Mikey's Minutes. I'm sorry.
It's what it is they came up with a program, a foundation where they would buy calling cards and send them over to our soldiers overseas because these soldiers would have to pay with their own money to call back and talk to their family when they were in certain areas of the world. And so they came up with his dad and mom, stepmom, and family and all, and they came up with this organization called Mikey's Minutes where they would send prepaid calling cards to our soldiers. And at one time I was able to be part of a promotion down in Toledo, Ohio. I fought a fight, and the promoter, Marty McManus, he donated $10,000 to Mikey's Minutes so we could send $10,000 worth of calling cards over to our soldiers.
Wow, that was pretty nice.
Yeah, that was a blessing, man. And then one night, me and my girlfriend were at some fights in Ohio, and this guy came up to me. He says, "Hey, can I talk to you for a minute?" I said, "Sure." He said, "I just want to say, I was going through the program, and I saw Mikey's Minutes was one of the sponsors of the program, and they told me that you were part of the deal with Mikey's Minutes." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, I served over in the war." He said, "There was a time I didn't think I was going to make it through. I thought I was just going to be killed." He said, "But I got to be honest with you." He got a little emotional. It choked me up, too. He said, "Those calling cards, man, is what kept me alive, being able just to talk to my wife and make it through." And he said, "I just want to thank you." And I was like, "Oh, man, I want to thank you." We hugged, and I took a picture with him, and, so just that one soldier, hearing that from that one soldier, that was well worth everything it took to get that.
Yeah, that's got to make a guy feel good when you're doing something for an organization and then somebody that you actually helped in the organization comes back and tells you how much it helped them.
Yeah, it humbles you, and it almost leaves you speechless. You don't know what to say.
Speaking of humble, how did you stay so humble in your career?
I just think it was my upbringing. I always know that no matter where you go in life, you got to remember where you come from, who you are as a person. Deep down, who you are. It's not what you become. It's not money that you make. It's not success that you get. It's who are you. At the end of the day, when it's you with yourself, Who are you? And I just think that's how you keep yourself grounded, because life can change in a heartbeat, you know. And everybody's human. I don't care who they are, where they are in life. They're all human, you know. And you can fail and make mistakes, but you just gotta pick yourself up and keep moving. And I think that just kept me grounded.
All right, I'm gonna bring up a few names that actually you didn't fight, and I'm curious to hear if any contracts were even close, or you know, any whispers of almost fighting these guys. Corey Spinks.
You know, his name came up once towards the end of my career, probably about the last 4 years of my career, but I don't know whatever happened or where they ended up going. I mean, I was all for it, but I don't know what ended up happening with that, to be honest with you.
Okay, how about Fernando Vargas?
Yes, I was hoping he was going to bring that up. Yes, when I had signed with Sugar Ray Leonard, they had a fight. I had a contract. We were going to fight Fernando Vargas. I was begging for that fight. I was chasing that fight. I wanted that fight. That's the one fight in my whole career that I guess I am disappointed it never happened, because at that time I think that would have been an absolute great fight. And we had a contract, and then I believe one of his let me think, if it was his promoter or Duva had checked into rehab. I think he had got into some issues or something. That's the best I recall. And then when that happened, Shelly Finkel, who was managing Vargas at the time, said, "No, that fight's not going to happen."
And you guys could just never get it back again, huh?
No.
Yeah, I think that's a fight that the fans got robbed out of, honestly.
They did, man. I wanted that one. I chased that. I wanted that fight so bad. I mean, I even stood on ESPN and held signs up. You know, I want Vargas. I wanted Vargas. I wanted David Reed. You know, I wanted all them guys, and I couldn't get none of them guys would let me in the door.
That's funny, because
I was maybe not them, but their management.
That's funny, because David Reed was the next name I was bringing up.
Oh yeah, I wanted him too. I begged for them fights, man. I mean, I wanted those fights. I wore hats in the ring. Don't bring me Vargas. I did all kinds of stuff, but they wouldn't do it.
Okay, what about Shane Mosley?
Yeah. His name, when Shane was making that jump from 47 to 54, he was looking for an opponent, and I said, "Hey man, I'd love to welcome Shane Mosley to our 54-pound division." Well, he ended up fighting Winky Wright, and you know what happened there.
Okay. And just one more name, I was kind of curious why you missed, because you did fight at middleweight for a little while too, why you never ended up matching up with William Joppy.
I don't know. I don't know if that name was, I honestly don't remember if that name was ever on the radar. I don't know. I mean, William Joppy too, that would have been a good fight. He was an exciting fighter. But I'll tell you a name that I tried to get when he was first making his first comeback was Jermaine Taylor. I wanted to get that fight. You know, when Taylor came back a while back. You know, he's come back a couple times. Not this recent run, but the run before that. I tried when he fought like Caleb Truex and guys like that, I wanted to get that Jermaine Taylor fight.
I'm glad you brought up Caleb, but I'm actually familiar with Caleb. I know Caleb personally, so and I actually just brought up his name yesterday in an interview to Hector Camacho Jr. I brought up him and Cericio Fort's name.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I know them guys. Yeah.
But I was gonna ask you. Obviously, being from Michigan, are you familiar with Jordan Schimmel then?
Yeah. Yep. I know. I haven't got to see him fight live yet, but I do know who he is. Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask you, if you've actually seen him fight or anything, because he seems to be making the rankings and climbing pretty quick. So, and I've actually...
He's making some headway for sure.
Yep, and I've actually met Jordan. I've actually taken photographs of some of his fights. I met his dad and his grandfather, so I'm kind of pulling for him to see him win a world title someday.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah, he seems like a real good kid, you know. And I would like to see. Yeah, I'd love to see anybody from Michigan, but anybody. You know, I'm just a guy that pulls for people. You know, anybody trying to do right, I'm pulling for him to win.
And I mean, just like him, I mean, he's got his father in his corner. He's a huge supporter. Wasn't your father a huge supporter of yours too?
Oh, absolutely. My dad was my first trainer. He was my amateur boxing coach, and he was in my corner my whole professional career. He was in every
Okay, and I just want to touch briefly on your nickname as Superman. But I mean, some people just come up with nicknames. But is that because you actually really like Superman? Are you into the comics and all that stuff?
Well, I do like Superman, but I got up one day and I was going through the internet, and I googled my boxing record, and I saw that they had Bronco Superman McKart down. I didn't give myself that nickname. You know what I mean? And I saw it on BoxRec, and I was like, oh man, that's freaking great. They came up with the name Superman for me. I love it. So then I just took it from there. Because at the beginning of my career, I was never Bronco Superman McKart. I just Bronco McKart. And then at one point, I think what it was is I came to some weigh-ins, and I had Superman jersey and stuff on. And then they just started calling me Superman, and then I went with it.
Okay, and then that's when you started wearing more the trunks and the jerseys and all that stuff?
Yeah.
Because I've also seen that you attend the Comic-Cons. That's why I asked.
Oh, yeah, no. I just go as a guest. Go and sign autographs and stuff like that.
Okay, and that only got linked because of the whole Superman thing, probably, right?
I don't know. I think just because they hold it here in Monroe, and it's my home city, and I go there. There's a lot of people here come out and see me and stuff like that.
Okay. I want to touch on your last fight with Tony Harris.
Yes.
Now, your dad made some statements that basically, okay, it would have been different maybe because you got rabbit punched and there should have been a foul, and that's kind of what started the whole end of that fight.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, I got hit with a shot, pretty much in the back of the head, and it was, my body reacted funny to it, and I was like, then I just couldn't regain my balance or whatever, and then I got knocked down, I think, another time or something. They just stopped the fight, and but it was what it was. You can only, like I said, you can only do it so long, and after that point, there was talks of, you want to do a rematch, you want to do this and do that. And I said, no, I'm done. I've had enough.
And he's just an up and comer now, and like you said, you were getting towards the end of your career, so he kind of used your name on a resume.
Sure, it happens. That's what happens if if you stay around sometimes maybe too long. I thought I could beat Tony Harrison, but it just didn't turn out that way. And whether it was a rabbit punch or not, who knows if I'd have won the fight or not. But regardless of that, I think he's got a chance to do something, pretty good in the game, because he's a tough kid, strong, very strong, works hard, in great shape. He's got all the assets, got all the tools, So I think he might do well.
And I guess that's why. Oh, go ahead.
No, I said we'll see. When he gets he needs to get just a real fight where he has to actually dog fight all the way to the end.
Yeah, I guess the reason I was curious about that fight is because if it should have been a foul and stuff like that, and then you said there was talks about the rematch, I was just kind of curious why you ended your career on a fight like that. Then, but inside you must have felt that was just enough.
Yeah, I could have put it literally was left. The ball was left in my court. I could have pushed it. I received phone calls. They wanted to overturn the fight to a no contest and this and that. And then I said, you know what? No, I'm not. I don't want to do any of that stuff. I don't want to. I'm not that kind of. I don't know. I just don't want to seem like it was sour grapes, I said, I'll just chalk it up, move on, because I'm done anyways. And then, and I announced my retirement officially in July. And then in August, I got appointed to the state of Michigan boxing commission, or the unarmed combat commission, which is oversees boxing and MMA in the whole state of Michigan. So I'm a commissioner on the board now.
Wow.
So I got appointed by the governor.
Are you commentating fights too?
Yeah, I'm doing some regional stuff, and I'm trying to land a national deal.
Okay.
I'm trying to hook on with a network, and so we'll see what happens with that.
So did you ever have any superstitions or rituals or habits before a fight?
Yeah. There were things like at one point in my career. This is gonna sound crazy, but I always wore the same pair of Connecticut, and I was fighting Ingles Pedroza, and at that time he was like 39-6 with 37 knockouts or something like that. So I'm in my room going through my stuff, laying out my trunks and laying out my shoes, and I realized I don't pack the underwear or the socks, and I start to have almost like a anxiety attack, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't bring my stuff that I fight in every single fight. Then I was like, all right, listen, I had to talk to myself. I said, every day in the gym when you're training and you're sparring, you're wearing different socks, you're wearing different underwear. Just put on what you're going to wear, go in there and fight the fight, just like you do every day when you train. And I did, and then after that, I broke that one.
That's a funny story. That's a good one, though.
Oh, man.
So, all right, I'm going to end it on this last question. Like, you had a lot of ups and downs in your career, and so sometimes it was harder than normal. And like I said, we talked about coming out of the Midwest and stuff. So what advice would you give the kids? I mean, in general in boxing, but like I said, there's a lot of amateurs coming out of the Midwest, and they turn into pros, and they just they don't feel like they're ever going to get out of here or make it to the big time. So what advice would you give to them, seeing that you actually had did it?
Well, I always tell the young kids, I tell them a few things, you know. First of all, I said when you turn professional, surround yourself with people that you can truly trust. That makes all the difference in the world. Because what happens with guys, we'll say out of the Midwest, is a lot of times they'll just get thrown in as the opponent. They'll just get thrown in as a guy that's just going to look good, make the other guy look good. And because they don't have anybody behind them, they don't have good management, they don't have just good people behind them. You know, you got to surround yourself with good people. That's the number one piece of advice I tell people when they turn pro. Get a good attorney, one that you can trust. Surround yourself with good people, and don't be an opponent. Don't allow yourself to be an opponent. You know, I feel like this. You can do anything that you want in life. Not every single person can be a world champion, but if you really have talent and you put the hard work and the effort in that it takes, you can become a world champion. I'm proof of that, because I don't feel like I was the most talented guy on the block, but I felt like I worked at my craft, man. I honed it. I lived it. You know, every day I tried to push myself to the next level. Tried to out-train the guys in the gym. Tried to outwork everybody, and that's how I got to become, you know, world champion and get where I got in the game. So you just have to work hard. You can't live both lives. You can't box and you can't party in the streets and do all that kind of stuff. You got to do one or the other. Those are the types of things that I tell kids all the time.
All right, well, Bronco, I appreciate the time and the interview. I learned a lot about you. It was really interesting. And like I said, I was a fan of your career, and I wish you good luck in your retirement, and hopefully you beat Winky in golf anyways.
He got me in that, too.
Oh, jeez.
But I told him, I said, man, you got me playing on rented clubs. So he's laughing, but no, Winky, he can play golf. And that's all that guy does every day is play golf down there in Florida.
All right, well, that'll end our interview, and the truth has spoken.